Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Hi, am I on?
Hey, yeah, I hear you. Cool.
Oh, fantastic.
All right. The first question is, did you familiarize yourself with Method 5 character creation?
So I went on and researched a bit about it, and it looks like the character sheets I've used before. So what I'm reading is that the primary thing is that you're rolling the maximum number of dice for your most important skills, and then fewer dice as you work your way down. Am I understanding that correctly?
Nope, nope. Method 5 is Method V, and what that is you take four dice, four six-sided dice, and you roll all four of them, and you drop the lowest one, and you do that six
Okay, yeah,
times.
that's what my last DM did. Yep.
Yeah, you do that. You do that six times because there's six stats, and then you arrange them however you want. And most of the time, it yields a character that can be any race, any class. Usually, sometimes
Is how.
there's
Sorry.
yeah, sometimes there's a few exceptions because of like, for example, the paladin. You have to have at least a 17 to go into charisma, and 17s and 18s are they're not rare with this method, but they're uncommon. So, but what were you about to say? Sorry.
Was going to say that I hadn't heard the name applied to it, but that is how we rolled characters with my in-person group.
Okay, yeah, that's method 5. I think it came out in like the early 80s when the original Unearthed Arcana book came out for like first edition AD&D. But yeah, long time ago. Most it's kind of like the community standard for most um, both AD&D first and second edition games on Roll 20. It's kind of the most common method that people use. So that's the one that I use in the Orb of Solonod Hex. Okay,
It's great.
so uh, next question is how much time do you have tonight for this interview?
If I'm walled off in the bedroom, so if my husband goes to bed, I'll just relocate.
Okay, okay, cool. So it's like after 10 p.m. where you're at on the East
Nine.
Coast. 9. Okay, so that's what Central time. Mm. Okay. Um. All right. Next is how did you find out about the Orb of Solonod Hex? About my campaign. How did you find out? Hello. Oh, did I lose you?
You.
Okay, I hear you now.
I was researching ways to play online,
Uh huh.
and so I went to onto Roll20 and I started searching AD&D campaigns because it was what I was familiar with and enjoyed. And then yours came up, and I saw that you had a spot, so I read the description and I enjoyed it.
Cool. Cool. What was it about my description that kind of sold it for you?
Let me pull it up again. Um, Mind, the sort of up so that I can answer your question most fully, and then I have a connection problem.
Uh oh. um.
No,
Looks like
what I enjoyed was that there was a already, so I could see that it was a pretty involved group. I could see that there were different classes, so it looked like there was quite a bit of teamwork. I enjoy um, sort of sandboxing, like, when people set up like Mass Effects and, things like that. But it's not necessarily what appeals to me the most. I enjoy sort of just fantasy, and it looked like it was settled in that, and it looked like it had a pretty interesting story.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Have you seen any of our videos or our sessions on Twitch or YouTube?
Oh, are they? I didn't realize they were available. What's your channel?
I archive them on YouTube at this link.
Got it.
Let's see, I'm gonna send it in Discord.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I should probably I'll send it to you via private message so it doesn't go up to the whole channel that way. Okay, there it is.
Thank you.
So, just a little bit of background for my campaign is I've been running this campaign off and on since 2002, and I have DM'd approximately 275-ish sessions in this campaign setting for 3 or 4 different iterations of players. So I had the first iteration in 2002. The second iteration was in 2008. The third iteration was in 2010. And this is the 4th iteration of this game, and this being the first online iteration. The first 3 were face-to-face games, so, they were played in my living room. I would have people over. We would have basically an all-day party where we would play D&D, we would drink beers, we'd have barbecue, and just kind of hang out and have fun. And that was on Saturdays from like noon to midnight, pretty much. We would probably actually play D&D for like 9 hours, and then have like 3 hours of breaks, including, barbecue or like a smoke break here and there, bathroom breaks, whatever. But this iteration of the game, the sessions are 5 hours. Have you?
That's slightly, maybe an hour or two less than what I'm used to playing.
Okay. Good. Sometimes it goes a little over, like maybe 5 hours and 20 minutes, 5 hours 25 minutes sometimes, just depending on what's going on. Like if it's in the middle of combat, or if someone has to leave or something, then we might cut a little short, or we might go a little longer. But if you go,
understanding that pretty common for it to last, 6 hours, give or take. I am careful to not commit to playing on a date when I know that I've got something to do.
Yeah, that's good. And I actually have, in the campaign, there is a forum where people, it's called the scheduled absences thread, where people will be like, well, I got to go to my daughter's graduation on this date. Sorry, I won't be there. Or, I'm having a tooth pulled on this day. Sorry, I can't go. So it lets everyone in the game know that you're committed and that you have respect for them, like the other players. Enough respect for to let everyone know, ahead of time. So that's good. I'm glad.
Normal play date.
Yeah. Okay.
What day do you guys normally play?
We play on Saturdays. So let's see. I'll send you a link to the looking for group. So this link here will take you to the looking for group page, and it will show you in your time zone the day and time that we play. So we play at the same time on the same day every week. And we've been doing it for over 2 years now on Roll20.
Predictability, so I can build it into my schedule.
Yeah, it's very, very predictable. Most people show up like 5 to 10 minutes before the sessions start. That way we can go through any kind of like business with your character, like, oh, I forgot to level up or something last time we played.
Right.
So yeah, we do level ups at the end of the session, or immediately before. Um, and then yeah, it's usually like most of the time everyone shows up on time. There's one guy right now that um, he he kind of lives at home with his parents, and his attendance has been kind of wishy-washy, and I he says he's gonna be there tomorrow, but I'm thinking he probably won't show up, and I'll have to give somebody else his slot. Um, so I have basically it's like a two strike system in a 4 week period, and um, if there's like a no call no show, like someone just doesn't show up and there was no forewarning, that counts as a strike. And then tardiness is fine as long as it doesn't go over like half an hour or something like that. Like
Right.
people get stuck in traffic, or my one of my regulars is a college student, and he regularly gets like stuck in traffic on the bus or something, getting home from whatever he does on Saturdays or whatever. So um, that's fine as long as it doesn't go over half an hour. It's okay. And then like no call no shows, or probably a strike. And it's a two strike system, so like the first time it's fine. If it happens again in any 4 week period, then I gotta let the person go, because
I mean, it's
um
just,
yeah,
poor
it's
respect.
yeah, well, I mean, things happen that are unforeseen, like people lose internet and stuff, but I really look for people who have dependable internet and dependable lifestyles, and like I usually prefer someone who is either the head of their household or married to the head of the household. And you said you have a husband, so you're married to the head of your household, so you have a lot of
I am
control
the head
over
of the
your
household.
yeah. Yeah. So you have control over your time, and that is exactly what I look for in a player. Um, Teenagers tend to be, they depend on their parents for a lot of stuff, and their parents tend to have control of their time, and teenagers just end up washing out of my game because they miss too many sessions, or they're too late to a session, and it's a strike. So yeah, I do look for head of household, and I'm glad that you applied, because you are exactly the type of player that I'm looking for.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a really good mic, like studio quality mic. I can hear that studio quality in your voice, so that's excellent for role playing purposes on the stream. So I stream the games live on Twitch, and you can watch it while we play if you want to. I don't mind. There will be spoilers if you watch the stream and play at the same time. So, because you see everything that I see, so just keep that in mind. It will probably ruin your experience. But if one of the players wants to keep like a tab open on my stream to help my views, that's great. Like, thank you very much if you feel like doing that. It does eat up a little bit of data, so because it's like a 1080p high definition stream. So um, if you don't have like an unlimited data internet plan, it can eat up quite a bit of data. So just a forewarning.
Yeah, that should be
Um,
fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So your headset sounds really good. However, it sounds like we need to make a few adjustments really quick to your Discord settings. So, one thing I'd like to go through during the interview is how to set up your microphone so that we can hear you, loud and clear during the sessions and on stream. So if you're looking at your Discord window, down at the bottom, next to your username, there should be three icons. There's a mute icon, looks like a microphone. There's a deafen icon that looks like headphones. And then next to that is a gear icon called user settings. So if you click on that to open it up, underneath, I think it is voice and video in the app settings. If you have the voice activity input mode selected, there will be a slider for input sensitivity, and it sounds like your microphone's not quite keying on your voice every time you speak. So if you push that
Just slide
slider
that
towards
up.
the left, it will make it more sensitive. Because you can see as you,
How's that?
it sounds a little better. Could you do like an alphabet for me real quick?
A C D E F G H I J K L M N O P.
Okay.
Maybe.
It sounded like it skipped over your letter A. So I'm wondering if you could make it just a little bit more sensitive
Yeah,
by
like a little
sliding
more
it to the left.
space.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that might. It stop me, or if my computer's just thinking about it.
Is it processing something right now?
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P
Okay.
Q R S.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I actually heard the letter A, so that's much, much better. So if you slide down to the bottom, there might be a save button. Oh, it looks like it saves automatically. So I guess you can just click in the upper right corner. There's an escape button. You can click on that, and it will take you back out to the channel. Or actually, I think it's our conversation. Okay. So we've got your mic settled. We've established that you're head of household. You are definitely an adult. And how about your patience? So there are going to be 7 other people playing. And during the sessions, I like to use the turn. Have you played? You've played on Roll20 before, right?
I've not, but my last DM did have initiative turns, if that's what you're getting at. He even gave us we'll have, and then we would roll for initiative. And we'd hold up our note cards because it was easier for him to keep track of in a big group.
Okay. So on Roll20, okay, so traditionally in second edition, you would normally, for each session, the Dungeon Master's Guide suggests that you establish a first player every session, like just roll dice to see who's first player for that session. And then when you're outside of combat, everyone takes like a 1-minute turn starting from that person and working around the room clockwise.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that. That
Yeah.
sounds interesting.
It's the old second edition Dungeon Master's Guide. It's one of the suggested ways to play. So what I do instead of that is because Roll20 has a tool called the Turn Order Tracker.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is as soon as combat ends, I go through the Turn Order Tracker and I delete any non-player character, monster, and basically all the people who don't need turns. So the only people that will be left are any NPCs that I'm controlling during role playing parts of the game, and then all of the player characters will still be on the turn order tracker. And what that does
Okay.
is it lets me cycle through the turn order tracker minute by minute so that each player gets a turn during every minute of the game.
Oh wow. Okay.
And what that does is it makes it so that there will not be just one person doing all the role playing
Bogarting.
for it's going to make it impossible to bogart my attention during the game. And so everyone will have an equal-ish amount of time to describe their character's actions, their henchmen's actions, their followers' actions, and so you can explore the dungeon more efficiently, or the town, or the forest, or the river, or wherever you're at.
Right.
Um, Now, that being said, with 7 other players, what that means for you is that you're going to have approximately 60 seconds to go through the motions of moving your characters around and describing their actions and asking questions of the other players, asking questions of my NPCs, making comments and stuff like that, and speaking with other people. And then your turn will be over, and then you'll have 7 minutes to listen to the other players play and formulate your actions for your next turn. And that takes, I think, a little bit of patience for most people. Are you willing to go through with that? Do you?
Fine.
Okay, okay. So I'll try my best to keep it, down to 60 seconds for each person. Sometimes, the things that a player has to say to an NPC might be kind of important. So sometimes I might accidentally go a little bit over 60 seconds. Is that okay? Like sometimes I mess up.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. It's usually because I'm getting really into role playing an NPC, or a player asked a very important question, and I have to put out a
Mhm.
lot of information.
Yeah, well, and I've traditionally played mages, and for my group, ended up being the sort of secretary. So sometimes we would go weeks without, playing, and then we get back together, and people would forget where we were, but we would go by my notes. So I spend quite a bit of time, uh, keeping minutes, so that doesn't bother me. It's just more opportunity to gather information.
Right, right. Is that a role that you enjoy
Find it.
for a group? You didn't mind it? Okay. Because that's actually really good to hear, actually. So, uh, one thing that this group kind of lacks is leadership. I mean, there is a little bit of tactical knowledge that's kind of gets disseminated from a couple of the people, like the tankier people. They might shout out commands like, watch that door, or stuff like that to the other
That's
players,
good
and it's kind
because
of
that's where I have less experience.
yeah, yeah. When it comes to bookkeeping, I do put out handouts on Roll20 that allow for tracking what treasures have been acquired by the group and who in the group has claimed those treasures. And that seems to be one of the things that most people don't like to do so far. Um, and like sort of acting as like a treasurer type of person. So that might be something that you could work out with the players if you feel so inclined.
It's fine.
Um,
I like to take on some responsibility. It makes me feel more involved.
yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, so far, traditionally, it has been one of my other players. Her name is Shannon, who
Hmm.
has been the treasurer, and she almost a year ago now she had a stroke,
Oh,
and I think she's in her mid 50s, and it is a little difficult for her now to be the treasurer, because she only has the use of one hand, and so typing things is very challenging for her. So she might be tickled pink to know that there's someone who's willing to take over that role for her. You could work that out with her and the other players if you want to.
The caveat
Um,
that I wouldn't want her to think that I'm busting in and then suddenly replacing her. But if it's something she's
right,
interested in,
right. Yeah. So you said you've traditionally played casters only. Are you thinking of trying something new, like maybe rogue or something like that?
it's weird that you said that because I've never played a rogue,
Uh huh.
and I've felt to some extent that like I've sort of played characters that are like me, and I'm really interested in playing a rogue because it's so unlike me. And
Huh.
so, yes, I am interested in that.
That's awesome. So in AD&D Second Edition, the rogue, um, the stereotypical rogue has three different subclasses. Um, you have the thief, who is the most skilled of the rogue classes. They get a whole bunch of skill points at level 1 to disseminate amongst their thief skills, and they get the most skill points throughout their levels, and they typically have very fast progression because of their class experience bonuses.
Right.
And then you also, and the thing about them is they have basically all of the rogue abilities, including backstabbing and sneaking around and stuff like that. The other two subclasses either have fewer skills or they're not as skilled as the thief, but
Yep.
they have other things that take place of those absence skills. So the second rogue subclass is the bard, and they are a very interesting subclass. They tend to be performers of some kind, whether musically or poetically, or what have you, and they are a very social character. They have a very high charisma requirement. I think it's 15 or higher in the
Uh-huh.
charisma department. So they tend to be very charismatic, good-looking people that are very in tune with, uh, um, you know, empathy and people's feelings, and they're basically the face person or the people person of the group, and they have, I think, 4 of the 8 thief skills or something like that. They don't have um, the stealthier thief skills. I think they have like pickpockets and um, I think they have read languages, and maybe they have the climbing ability, and I think 1 or 2 other ones, but they don't do stealth as much as the other 2 subclasses do. And also they get fewer skill points to disseminate amongst their skills as well. However, eventually they get magic. So they get their own versions of wizard spells. And then they also have a proficiency crossover with every group, and I think they can be proficient with any weapon. So that
Oh,
is a very, very useful thing particularly because in my campaign I use firearms. So that's,
okay.
optionally, that's a really, really good way to be pretty useful during combat, because in AD&D Second Edition, the firearms do pretty decent damage. They're not 100% dependable though, so sometimes they can backfire and it might cause some damage to the character, or it might foul the barrel and you have to spend half an hour cleaning the weapon,
Yeah.
or it might actually explode the firearm and completely destroy it. So I think it's a balanced weapon because of those things. You know, it can backfire and hurt the character. It can blow up and be completely useless, or you know, it can be fouled for a while.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another one of the subclasses for the rogue archetype is the ninja. It's a really interesting type of character, I think. They tend to have like a two-sided persona, because on one hand they're a ninja, but on the other hand they have to hide that fact, and they only become the ninja during like very specific stealth missions, which I leave completely up to the player. Um, and then during other times they are, you know, this person who masquerades as a fighter or maybe as a regular thief or something.
Oh,
Um,
that is interesting.
yeah, yeah, and some of the ninja kits. So a kit, for example, I guess to put it, easiest way to understand what kits are is so for the fighter, a fighter kit. An example of a fighter kit would be the samurai. A
Hmm.
samurai is definitely a warrior, but they're not like, you know, a Western fighter. They use Eastern weapons like, you know, katana and daikyu, the daikyu bow and stuff like that. So they are technically a warrior and they're a fighter, but they're a special kind of fighter, and so they have the samurai kit. So there are different. Did you have a question?
I was going to interject. So it's like shorthand for archetypes within the genre.
Within the subclass, really, because each subclass has their own kits. So for example, like the thief, there's like the burglar. I think there's like a housebreaker type of thief, that where they break into houses and stuff, and they steal, you know, jewelry or whatnot. They like do a heist pretty much, and then they egress, and then they go and fence their stuff, and they have specific skills and access to specific equipment to help them, you know, do these things like a housebreaker's harness to, post up outside of a window. They'll have access to like glass cutting equipment and suction cups and stuff like that to cut windows and, you know, quietly get inside without making loud crashing noises and stuff like that. So for Bard, there are some pretty interesting kits, and also for Ninja, there are some really interesting kits as well. So that's like kind of like a whole nother level of customization for your character, and
Okay.
we can go into that a little bit later. Um, do you think you have time to maybe start up a character or
Fine.
tonight?
Does your yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Does your group have a thief size hole in it, or would that be
There
sort of
actually,
doubling on?
yeah, there actually is a thief size hole specifically in this group. So there, um, there is, there are two multi-class thieves. So one of those is a player character that is a mage thief, right? And so the difference between a thief and a mage thief is, obviously they're part mage, so they have spells. But the thing about multi-class characters is they progress at half the speed as a single class character does. So that multi-class thief, the mage thief, their thief skills are way behind what they would be had they become a single class thief.
Got
So
it.
I always like to try to keep at least one single classed, person. Um, I'm sorry, one single classed PC per archetype. So we have a single class fighter, we have a single class wizard, we have a single class priest, actually two single class priests, and you
That's nice.
would be our single class thief if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, if I'm accepted, I would love to do that.
And I think it would be appropriate to accept you because you basically have passed the interview with flying colors.
Oh,
Um,
well, thank you.
yeah. What is your roll 20 name again?
Listen, Nick, my real name's Amber, if you'd like.
Okay, it was Amber H, right, on roll 20. Okay, so I'm clicking
Oh,
the
I was
button.
thinking of my Discord.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm
Roll
clicking.
roll 20 is Amber H. Yes.
Yeah, I've just clicked the invite to game button next to your name. So if you log into roll 20 in your mail, there should be a notification for the invite to the
Let's
Orb of
back
Solid
up. It
Hex.
turned out. Oh, yeah. So
So if you refresh, it might pop
working.
up.
Yeah, my internet is working, but roll 20 is not working for me.
Oh, okay. It might be
I
lagging a
was
little
having
bit.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of processes going on in the background? Like, can you open up your task manager and see if
I
maybe you
actually have two
have?
computers going, so I could talk to you on one with no trouble.
Oh,
Let me
wow. Okay.
see the other one that can access it fine. Yeah, that was just the other computer. All right, well, let's pull it up.
And as a test for your computer, hardware and whatnot, I'm gonna have you do character creation in the dungeon. So what
Okay.
that will do is, if your computer isn't up to snuff, I guess, it's gonna be really laggy for you in this
Good to know.
dungeon. Yeah, because I use dynamic lighting and um, advanced fog of war and music, sounds, and all the bells and whistles. So it does take up a lot of CPU power to run the dungeons that I make.
All right.
So we'll see how it goes for your computer.
I believe that I have. Okay, so should I click launch game now?
Yes, yeah. And then
Okay.
I will, as soon as you step in, I will give you a character sheet. And the first thing you should do on your character sheet is, since you know the type of character you want to make and um, stuff like that, the first thing we'll need is a name. And what that allows me to do is give you a token, and then from there we can go on to rolling your stats. Okay, so I'm going to give you a character sheet right now. I'm just going to name it Amber.
Take me through a tutorial. Hold on.
Okay, close that. Reopen it. Edit. And then in players' journals, all players and edit and control only by you. So that's Amber H. There we go. Save those changes. Alright, now I'm going to click on Show to Players, and it should pop up on your screen, unless your dungeon is still loading.
It says it's unresponsive.
Okay, so it's loading. Don't refresh or anything. What that means is you're connecting to the server. The server is uploading this map onto your system, and as soon as that process is done, you'll be able to see, I think, the character sheet. So my maps are usually they take up like maybe about 2 to 2.5 gigs of your random access memory, because my dungeons tend to be kind of big. This dungeon, I think, is the biggest one so far. So, it might take a minute to load it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And if we find this unsuccessful, I'll try it on the other computer.
Okay. Usually, I'd give it between 90 seconds to 5 minutes, depending on how fast your processor is. Any idea what kind of race you prefer?
Hmm. I've done half elf and human.
There are many, many, many races available in this campaign in particular because I do allow races from the Planescape campaign. Planescape
Oh,
is. Have you heard of Planescape?
I haven't been involved in it. I'm pulling out my player's handbook, looking up races to get a little more creative.
Oh, okay, okay. So, in the player's handbook, you've got human, elf, half elf, dwarf, gnome, and halfling. And then each of those races, other than human and half elf, has their own sub races. And I do allow all of them except for the halfling. What are they called? The ones from Dragonlance. Kender.
Ooh.
So, Kender only exists on the world of wherever Dragonlance takes place. I forget the name of the planet, but it's a campaign specific race. So, those races are the only ones that I don't allow as campaign specific races. So, for example, another one would be there's a dwarf sub race called the Gully Dwarf, and
I have heard of that.
yeah, those are only found in Dragonlance as well. But all the other ones are in every campaign. So for elves, there's the standard high elf, which is the one in the player's handbook. And then there's the gray elf, which is they tend to act a little bit more human than the high elves do. They actually are concerned with what goes on in the world outside their kingdoms and stuff. They don't usually live in forests. They actually live in cities. And their cities are a lot like. Have you seen the Lord of the Rings movies? Hello?
There?
Hello? Oh, okay. I hear you now.
Yes, I have seen those movies. I could hear you the whole time.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to put this server. Let's see, overview, permissions. I'm going to put this server in your time zone. Let's see. See if that helps. Server settings. Change it to US Central. Save changes. Okay, so on the Discord channel that we're in, down at the bottom, if you hover over the bars next to voice connected, what does it say, like a number and MS? Are you there? Uh-oh. Let's see. I'm gonna put you down to the AFK, and I'll bring you right back. Alright, are you there? Hmm. Hell
Are you
yeah.
there?
Hi.
Are you there?
Yep, yep.
So here's the good news. While we were going through that technical difficulty, everything loaded.
Okay, good. All right, I will send you. I'm actually going to open your character sheet for you. So when I click show to players, it should show up now. So the first thing you should do is go ahead and put in under character info where it says name. Go ahead and change your name from Amber to whatever you want your character to be called, and then hit enter when you're done.
If I am indeed where I need to be. This be, I apologize.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm basically looking at a black screen.
Okay, yep, you should be. All right, so that means that your character does not have sight yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put, just for now, a human female thief looking token onto the board, and I'm actually gonna give her a torch for now, and that will allow you to see what's going on. Let's see, tokens, light source object, torch. Okay. Did you give your character a name?
That is my question. So you said you opened my character sheet, but I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, I'll do it again. Maybe it didn't work. Okay, cool. So when
See, it was.
do you see it now?
There. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you'll see that along the top there are 3 tabs. There's bio and info. That tab is going to be visible to all the players. So don't put any secrets in there if you want to keep secrets from the players. And then there's the character sheet tab and the attributes and abilities tab. Most of the attributes and abilities tab is going to be where I assign you, like, special abilities depending on what race you pick or what kit or subclass you choose.
No, I don't think you could hear me when I was saying it, but I really liked your description of the gray elf. If that's an option, I think I might try that.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So where it says race, go ahead and put gray elf, and player characters can be any alignment. Everyone does have to start off at level 1. So
Okay.
there are many reasons for that. Okay, so I'm gonna find you a good, decent gray elf token. But we'll start off with this first. So you named your character Asher. It looked like, whoops. And what this is gonna do is, there we go.
Eat sight.
Let's see. Show nameplate. Advanced. Has sight. 0 feet. Save changes. Asher. And then I'm going to grab these 2 tokens. Copy them. delete them and put you by the entrance, which is right here. And then I'm going to shift ping you directly to the entrance. So your point of view should now show a character with a torch, and the character's name should be Asher. Is that what you're seeing?
I'm moving the box.
Let's see. I'll shift ping you again. So when I shift ping, it moves everyone's point of view. So you
Perfect.
see okay. So this torch is letting you see, and your character's human. So, well, right now, until you create a gray elf. Okay, so what you can do right now is if you click on the actual character token, up at the top of the screen there will be a bunch of character actions, and the one in question is character creation. So if you click on that, in the chat tab, it will show your stats, your birthday, your optional traits, and your social rank. So everything on here that's randomly rolled is required for you to put onto your character sheet, unless you are not satisfied with your stats. So I do allow one reroll. So that was your reroll right there. If you if you're not if you're not satisfied with your original stats,
Got it.
your reroll is you're stuck with it though. So and I just won't count that reroll because you didn't even know about that at the time. Okay, so
well.
Gray Elves do have stat requirements, so I'm gonna open up a website called Purple Worm, and I'm gonna put the URL for this website in chat so that you can open it too. Most of the you might want to save this or bookmark it on your browser as well, because it is a great tool and go-to for all types of rules and spells and equipment lists and all that. So in there, Purple Worm, in the Complete Book of Elves, there should be a spot for character creation and kits. Yep, chapter 10. And then elf sub-races. And then gray elf if we scroll down. Okay. So the gray elf.
A little behind you.
Okay. So if you click on the link, it will open up Purple Worm. And then you're going to want to open up the Complete Book of Elves, which is one of the purple books. It's the second purple book. And then if you open up chapter 10, and then click on the elf sub-races, and scroll down a little bit until you find gray elf. It looks like they have minimums and maximums to their ability scores, and the ability scores in this book are, the minimum and maximum scores characters of a subrace may have after the initial adjustments have been made. A character who does not meet the minimum requirements of a subrace cannot be a member of that subrace. Scores over the maximum must be reduced. Okay. So the gray elf, after adjustments, has a minimum of 3 strength, 7 dex, 5 con, 8 intelligence, 3 wisdom, and 8 charisma. So they're fairly charismatic and dexterous and intelligent. And the other stats are pretty much meh. They get a +2 bonus to intelligence and +1 to dexterity. And then because they spend so much time studying, their physique is frail. and they have a
Right.
penalty of -2 to Constitution and -1 to Strength. They do have 60-foot infravision, so I'm going to find you an appropriate token. And then if you open up your character sheet, along the left-hand side is where your final scores are going to go. If you find the part where you plug in your stats, I think it's called ability scores. It's on the character sheet tab. So the left side is where your final scores are going to go. But for right now, just go ahead and put your raw scores on the right. And your raw scores look like they're going to make the minimums. I don't think you had anything lower than like, what, 11 was your lowest? Oh, 8 and 7. Yeah, you'll probably be able to make a Grey Elf. It looks like your second set of stats has a 17, and the lowest ability score was 9. Do you want to take that one? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. Did you want to
Great.
take the first set of stats?
Good.
Okay. So you were born on May 19th. Your optional traits, you don't have to take these. But Asher is usually careless, but frequently a nervous type of female.
Okay.
So those are just, you could ignore that if you don't want to play that type of character. That's mainly for me to make NPCs. And it looks like you came from lower middle class. So your family could be artisans, bakers, petty merchants, junior officers, scribes, brewers, cobblers, landless knights, minor landowners, merchants, weavers, farmers, minstrels. The thing about the Grey Elf culture is they actually have other elves that live in their cities that are servitors. So they act as like butlers, housekeepers, maids, chauffeurs, and servants to the Grey Elves. The Grey Elves are
Okay.
kind of like if the okay, so they're not evil, but imagine if Nazis were not evil and they were like the real master race of elves, right? And the other elves actually like them and wanted to serve them, okay? That would be what the Grey Elves are. They're like not evil Nazis. So they're like it's kind of funny. They're like the master race of elves. They're so arrogant about it. Almost to the point of being rude about it, but not quite. Not quite rude. But they are very arrogant about being more intelligent and more learned and more educated and more culturally adept than all of the other elves. And because of this, the other elves kind of view them as like more human than elf, if that makes sense. So their culture
Yes.
their culture is kind of it's, if you took like elves and humans and mixed them, that's what the way Grey Elves act. They are very not elf-like. They're not aloof in any way, shape, or form. They're very in tune with the politics of the world and current events throughout the world, and they actually care about the world they live in. Um, they study a lot about the world. Like, they have public libraries that are basically the biggest libraries in the world, and
Oh, cool.
they spend a lot of time studying. Um, they make really, really good mages. They have a lot of, um, as far as non-player character elves go, uh, their maximum level is usually like level 8
Huh?
ish. So like, well, maybe high elves. High elves might have like their highest wizard in their whole kingdom might be level 8. Gray elves, their highest wizard might be level 9 or 10. So they go beyond normal elves in terms of magical power and stuff like that. And it's because they're so educated and so learned and so intelligent compared to the other elves. Um, and then, let's see, their culture is more technologically advanced as well than most other elves. Other elves, the royalty, like for example, high elves, the royalty of the high elves might have elven plate mail, and then like their elite warriors might have elven chainmail. In the Grey Elf Society, the elite Grey Elf warriors have elven plate mail. Like, it's because the Grey Elves know how to make it. And
Right.
they are very highly skilled in the use of mithril silver and all of its alloys.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
yeah, they know the secret of how to make um, armors and stuff like that out of blue mithril steel alloy. And so like elven chain is so common in their society that they actually sell it to each other, only to each other though, unless a person is like a highly esteemed guest, like an adventurer who has become famous, and his or her dealings with the elves and questing and stuff has made them famous among the elves, and they have positively changed the world for the Grey Elves in some way, shape, or form, then
Right.
they would be an honored guest and possibly have, access to buying elven chainmail and elven plate mail, just because they've got so much clout. It takes clout. Let's see. Yeah, they are super super arrogant. If you like, I don't know if you like playing characters that are arrogant. Have you played a character that's arrogant before? It can be pretty fun. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put your raw scores in the yep, there's the ability scores section. It's right below experience in the character sheet section. And then once you enter your scores, go ahead and hit enter, and it's gonna pop up on my screen. In the notes side on the right. And then I'm gonna grab all of the racial adjustments real quick.
Gray Elf, real quick.
Say again.
Looking at a purple worm real quick to make sure I'm assigning these properly.
Oh yeah. So you got +2 to intelligence. And I think I'm gonna grab this entire section on Grey Elves and then copy it. And then I'm gonna put it into the bio of your character sheet so you can just click on your bio tab and you'll be able to read it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to delete the honor and base honor parts of your character sheet because you have chosen a character that doesn't use those. And we'll change the color to like a gray. And then you have chosen thief. So I'm going to grab all of the appropriate thief tables and paste them into your bio as well. There are quite a few, surprisingly, useful thief tables. Particularly the experience table and thieving skill, armor adjustments, and proficiency slots. Let's see, edit. Copy that. Go back to the map with you on it. And click edit. And I'll put these tables into your bio. Enter, paste, enter, and save changes. Okay, let's see your stats real quick. Okay, so you went with 9 strength, 15 dexterity, 12 in con. Oh, did you take the second bundle of stats? Okay.
Oh.
The 13, 9, 14, 17, 15, 12. That's fine. That's fine. If you want that. I'm just going to copy them onto
I didn't
your-
realize what I was looking at. Yeah, I'm happy with that though. That's fine.
Okay. That is going to yield much higher stats for you, I think. So I think you'll be even happier with your character once we're done adjusting these. Okay. So 17 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 13 charisma. Okay, I believe you beat all the minimums by at least like 2. Yep. Charisma 8. Yeah, you beat all the minimums by a lot. All right. So +2 bonus to intelligence. So it's going to be +2 race. Okay, and then +1 to dexterity. Copy. Paste. +1 race. And then -2 con and -1 strength. Okay, -2 con. Enter and -1 strength. Enter. All right. So that gives you a strength of 8. Dexterity of 16. So that's going to give you a 10% bonus to the experience points that you earn, because the prime requisite score, or the prime requisite of thieves is 16, and if you have 16 prime requisite of thieves is dexterity, and if you have 16 or higher in all of your prime requisites, you get a 10% bonus to your experience points that you earn. It's going to give you a con of 10, which is average. It's going to give you an intelligence of 19. 19 intelligence, so you are smart as a whip. Wisdom 14 and charisma 13. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up to your experience real quick. I'm going to add gain thief -2 at 1250. Your current XP is going to be 0. Your gained XP, I'm just going to make a little shortcut for you real quick. 200 times 0. So what that means is anytime you get a 200 point role-playing bonus or having a good idea bonus or whatever, just increment that 0 up by 1. And what that will look like is times 1. So asterisk is a multiplication symbol on Roll20. So that gave you 200 points, and then if you got another bonus, you would increment to 2, which would give you another 200, and then you would increment to 3, and so on and so forth. But for right now, we'll just keep it at 0. Okay.
And then do you call those out and then I add them, or do you add them yourself?
I call them out to you secretly in chat, and then you'll be responsible to add them yourself. Okay. Gray elves have a minus 15% like cost to their experience points, but with this bonus of 10%, that offsets to only minus 5%. So you're basically getting 95% of the experience points that you actually earn. So some of the races are a little bit more powerful than others, and in order to balance them out, they gave these experience point penalties to them, and Grey Elf is one of them. It's not a super huge penalty. Like, the worst I've seen is 50%, which is horrible.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. And that's for really powerful races, like there's a type of giant called a Furbolg, and they're like 9 feet tall, and they wield like giant-sized two-handed swords that do like double damage compared to a normal two-handed sword. They're like a really godlike warrior type of race that can really deal out damage. So they do a 50% prime requisite penalty, and then you can offset it by 10% by having high stats. So okay, so now if you keep your token selected, and in chat, in that character creation template, there should be a magenta colored button that says height, weight, age. And if you have your character selected, when you click on it, there will be a drop down menu that will allow you to choose Gray Elf female. Are you going to be a female or male Gray Elf? Asher is kind of a unisex name in my opinion. I wasn't sure which gender you wanted to play.
For in the chat, looking for height, weight.
It's actually it's going to be inside the character creation template that you rolled, where you got all your stats, and it's going to be right below your birthday. There you go. And what that does is it It's gonna be right below. Oh, it didn't. Did it roll? Remember, you have to keep. There you go. Did it? No. There you go. Yep. All right. Gray elf female. Okay.
Yeah, that'll do.
All right. So all those numbers, you can go ahead and fill those into your character sheet, and then you chose the. I think it was the group of stats that had the lower middle class. So that's going to be in your bio and info. I'll put that in real quick. Edit.
Okay.
And your social class is going to be lower middle class. I'm just going to put all this stuff in there.
Thank you.
Until you choose, what you want your family to have done. Now that you understand their culture a little bit more, you can probably pick one that's super appropriate because they're like the master race of, whatever. Like, I highly doubt that a gray elf would stoop as low as being a carpenter or leather worker, but there might be a gray elf stonemason that's like in charge of designing and carving the government buildings, or maybe even the king's castle and stuff like that. But there's a lot of really cool ones on here that would be super appropriate, like a landless knight or junior officer, like maybe your parents were lieutenants in the in some gray elf army or military. And that's another thing about gray elves, is they actually have official militaries and official branches of their government and stuff like that.
To
Artisan is a good one too. Maybe your parents were armorers, and they spent their lives making elven plate mail and chain mail and stuff. It sounded like
what about
you had
historians? Does that sound?
Oh yeah.
Does historians separate?
Let's see.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that would be appropriate to lower middle class. Maybe they spent their lives in the library studying history and writing treatises on different wars that the Grey Elves had with the Drow and the orcs and stuff like that.
Right. So that I just keep rolling. I don't know why that keeps doing that. How do I roll? Because apparently I'm accidentally doing it.
You're accidentally rolling what? Oh, more stats?
Oh, maybe it's that character.
Yeah, there's a button along the top of the screen that rolls ability scores.
I think I accidentally keep hitting that. I apologize.
That's fine. Upper middle class, upper middle class, upper middle class. Wow. You rolled upper middle class 3 times.
So I was actually what I was accidentally looking at was the upper middle class for historians, so maybe that would not suit.
Oh, okay. Let's see, lower middle class, artisans. That would be super appropriate. Like maybe your parents were armorers or something, or they made, out of elvish armor out of the what's it called? Mithril steel alloy.
The one thing, like there in the upper middle class, I noticed that there was a specific subset for armorers. So I wonder if they've delineated those.
Yeah, probably.
Be like jewelers or something.
Yeah. They could be junior officers. Scribes is in there. That's
Those
similar
just
to
scribes.
historian. There you go. Yeah, maybe they spent their lives copying the books, all the books that were about to fall apart from old age. They copied down meticulously, word for word, line for line, illustration by illustration, all their lives. As you grew up, you remember their ink-stained fingers brushing your hair. um, number of siblings, that all that stuff is up to you. um, the Elvish religions are really cool. I have handouts for a couple of them. Religion isn't super important if you're not a priest. But
Right.
it's, I mean, if you could be an atheist if you want to. I don't care. Or agnostic or what have you. Some people like to specify what religion. Liege
Your sheet,
patron. Say again.
your sheet. I can't remember how to reopen it.
Okay, so if you go in the top right corner, there should be a bunch of different tabs. There's a chat tab, art tab, journal tab, jukebox. If you click on the journal tab, I have placed Asher at the very top of it.
Ah, beautiful. Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Physically, gray elves tend to have, I think, gray skin, amber or purple eyes, and either like silver or gold hair, I think. The normal excuse me. 1 second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. The normal gray elves have amber eyes and silver hair, and then their royalty are blonde. Well, their royalty and their upper echelon of nobles are blonde with purple eyes. They're known
Oh.
they're known as fairy elves. And they're like the cream of the cream of the cream of the cream of the crop, genetically or whatever. They're yeah, it's so, they're so racist. It's they're like all the eugenics you could think of in real world is basically them, but somehow they're not evil. Like, yeah. Think like,
Unexpected.
yeah. Have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yes.
So the fairy elves are kind of like the Targaryens of the Westerosi. They're all like platinum blonde or whatever and have blue eyes, and they'll inbreed amongst each other to keep their genes from being mixed with the common, non-Valyrian folk and all that. That's basically how the fairy elves are.
Got it.
Yeah, it's kind of gross that they'll, yeah, inbreed and I mean that's I guess that's the point to where I take it. I don't make this game super adult, like, there's no like sex scenes, like everything just kind of fades to black as the two go into the bedroom or whatever, but I will mention details sometimes about how like this character is inbred, or I mean I take it to like a PG-13 or maybe even a rated R. No,
Okay.
PG-13. Well, a mix of PG-13 and R, I guess.
understand what you're getting at.
Yeah. I guess R-rated movies still have sex scenes, but I don't do that. That is not my bag.
What's that?
Just role-playing reproduction. It's not...
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, sorry, one second. I guess it's not a very good idea to eat 5-alarm chili while helping someone make a
Are
D&D
you-
character. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. If you want to be a fairy elf, that's fine. You could be like the distant cousin of one of the nobles or something that didn't really get to the upper middle class. Or wait, what was it? Yeah, didn't really get to the upper middle class.
I'm under bio and info, which is where I'm supposed to be. It's not letting me put a cursor.
Oh. You have to click on the edit button. Sometimes the edit button will disappear.
I'm dumb.
No, that's fine. That's the only part of the character sheet where you have to click edit. And the reason for that is the whole thing is one field. So they want, like a fail-safe. I'm
So
glad
player's
that they did
name. So player's name is me.
that. Yeah, you don't have to put your real name in there if you don't want to, although you already have it on your Roll20 account, but
That'll find me with a first name and initial.
yeah. Did you want to be a one of the blonde fairy elves or one of the silver-haired gray elves?
Silver.
Okay. All right, so a couple tokens come to the search. Let's see here. See, this one's pretty cool. I guess I could give her like a gray tint.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
See what she looks like with a gray tint. Super gray tint. Come on. There we go. Save changes.
Oh.
See how she looks with a white white tint. Suppose it doesn't have to be super perfect, but I mean, I'll keep going until
Yeah,
you.
no, that's. I'm happy with that.
The one on all the way to the right. Okay. Let's see if I got that on the see. Thief, elf, female. Okay. Add item. And we want, I'll put a bunch of different poses on there for you so you can change. I guess I'll make, do you want that to be her standard pose?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. It's a pretty cool pose, I think. And it looks like she has several different poses.
Cool.
Save changes. Add item. She has like a lunging one. Kind of like a sideways. Actually, that one looks like it might be reversed. It's kind of hard to tell. See, there's one where she's standing there holding the sword up against her arm, pointed skyward. It's pretty cool looking. And then looks like there's one where she's actually fighting. Whoops. Oh, she has two swords. That's cool. And then the lunging one. That'd be cool for a backstab. And then all these poses will be accessible to you just by right-clicking on the token, and you can change between them as you see fit. If you like that level of roleplay. And I'm also gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just trying to research the
Gray elves.
lands and homeland and.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have two Gray Elf cities in my campaign. The nearest one is called Lacilia City, and the farthest one is called. Let's see. Lacilia City. So I'll give you access to that real quick. See, edit. In players' journals. Amber H. Save changes. So I'll give you your choice between these two. Okay, so this is Lacilia City, and the other one is, I think, in northern Panoplia, so it's not, it's a lot farther away. It's called Illuminar. And this one was written by a player.
Lovely.
So it's from the perspective of the player's character.
So I expect that someone from us would have had a hard time getting far away land. Not impossible, but
yeah. Unfortunately, his character died. So this is written by a dead character. So two decent, solid options for you for where you could be from. Illuminar is it's in northern Panoplia. So Panoplia is my version of Europe, and northern Panoplia is where the like the pale blonde humans are from, and they have like a very maritime culture that's based on like looting and raiding and piracy and taking stuff from other cultures and mixing it in with their own. And there is a little bit of agriculture, but not as much as there should be, obviously, because most of their warriors spend their time pillaging and looting, pretty much, and sometimes each other as well.
Yeah.
So that's the typical human neighborhood around Illuminar, and then Lacilia City is in central Panoplia. So their closest neighbor is the Kingdom of Bryn, which is my version of the like Germany, Holy Roman Empire, Franks type of people. Well, I guess not Germany, but Germany/France, Franks, Holy Roman Empire. So there's a lot of paladins and knights and stuff. But a few years back, I think eight years ago now, the city, or the capital city, was basically sacked by a very small group of people that were so technologically advanced. They actually had war machines, like robots that
Oh wow.
they took over the city by capturing. They actually stormed the castle, busted in, and captured the royal family and held them hostage. So they occupied the castle, and for years held the royal family in the dungeon, and forced the population into slavery to make guns. And that's why guns are so common in Panoplia now, because there are all these there were so many guns made, guns, ammunition, and black powder. So this kingdom became an industrial military complex, basically, for a period of 2 or 3 years. And the player characters put a stop to it eventually, but the damage was already done. Guns are everywhere now, and you can buy them at the local, general store in most of the continent, in the cities and towns and villages and stuff. So there's always reloads available, different models of pistols and rifles and stuff like that, as well as armor and long swords and lances and heavy war horses and all that. So
Right.
it's kind of a Napoleonic time, where there's still swords, but and armor, but there's also guns, and knights are easily defeated now because of guns, and so
Right. So,
the knighthoods are kind of dying out, and stuff like that. Slowly, just over the past few years, this happened. So, but so it's a medium technology, medium magic setting, where the common folks can't really afford guns and gunpowder and stuff like that, and they're not smart enough to understand how to wield magic and how to use magic wands and stuff like that. But super powerful people, super smart people, they can understand how to use magic, and they might be rich enough to buy guns for their soldiers and stuff like that. Lords can afford guns and can afford to have a wizard on hand in their staff or whatever. So wizards are kind of common as as adventurers. Like, I would say 1 in 10 adventurers is a wizard. Like, maybe 10% of the adventurer population. But the adventurer population is super low. Like, maybe,
Okay.
1 in a million people becomes an adventurer. Maybe not that low. Maybe like 1 in 1,000 people becomes an adventurer. So 1 in 10,000 people might be a wizard. So in a huge city of 50,000 people, there might be 5 wizards of random level. And most of those might be low level wizards that are indentured servants in the town watch or something like that.
Hmm.
So there are PC wizards available and all that. Let's see. Do either of those look interesting, Lacilia City or Illuminar?
I chose Cecilia City.
Okay, because there are other options. Like, you could be a gray elf who
You
did
made
not.
a compelling story.
Okay. All right. So I will take away access to Illuminar because your character wouldn't know about it. Save those changes. Okay. So now that we know you're from Lacilia City, I'm going to give you access to Panoplia, Enervia City, White Towers, Ivory Range, Gray Mesas, and Passilion, the King, the Fourth Eon, and the Troop. The Troop are famous adventurers that have come through Lacilia City many, many times. However, that's not the PC party. The PC party is called the Circus because they're so diverse. And at one point, they did have a bear. So it was like a traveling circus almost. Okay,
Right.
so edit, and an elephant, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I have an elephant.
Okay, so Panoplia is now available to you, so that looks like this. So the ancient land of Panoplia is the continent representing the most advanced cultures in Sonodex. Okay, Nervous City.
Oh. Can access these whenever.
Okay. So Enervia City is somewhat of a sister city to Lacilia City, but it is a city of humans. And it exists in Western Panoplia, so it's one map away from Lacilia City. Lacilia City is in the central map. Nervia City is in the western map, so one map to the left.
Got it.
But it is comparable to Lacilia City in its magnificence, I guess you could call it.
Okay, yeah.
So that looks like this. And I think it would be appropriate for you to at least know about Enervia City being from Lacilia City.
Right.
And then Enervia City has the White Towers, which you should also know about because it's part of history.
Right. And I'm supposed to be smart.
Yep. Even though you might not be proficient in ancient history, this stuff is common knowledge to members of the Grey Elf race within Lacilia City.
Cool.
Okay, this is the Ivory Range. So that is the mountain range that separates Lacilia City from basically Western Panoplia. Oh no. I didn't write one for the Gray Mesas. Shoot. I will at least put a picture on there though. So the Gray Mesas are the low mountain range that contains Lycilia City. And they are made of a gray stone that's similar to like granite. Let's see, everything. Oh wow, okay. One of these days I'll get get around to writing down all of my lore. I think I like this picture better. It's less of a desert.
So I'll be able to access any of these through the journal later.
Yes. They might be a little hard to find because these are actually, what do you call it? Archived. And
Okay.
I will put a link on your character sheet in the journal to Lycilia City,
it.
and then you can access all of these from there. And for some reason, these aren't wanting to. Let's see. So these handouts kind of reflect your character's knowledge and a little bit of background, so it might be appropriate to mention a couple of these things in your like backstory. And if you do, if you put what's it called, proper nouns in your journal, if you put brackets around them, I can actually make handouts for any proper noun that you mention, and I can give you access.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It looks like I'm gonna have to use the one I didn't want to use.
Oh.
Okay, save changes. Whoops. Didn't want to quite save changes yet. Okay. In players' journals. Amber H. Save changes. So that's kind of what the Gray Mesas look like. And that's where. Oh. That's where the Lycilia City rests, or where it is. Let's see, did I get that right? Lore. Lycilia City. Okay, Gray Mesas. Is that the last one? Nope. Okay, so King Pasilion. There's a little bit of information about him and what he looks like. So this is his actual character sheet. Excuse me, character sheet. That's what he looks like. Okay, the fourth eon is probably when you were born. So I'm going to give you access to the handout for the fourth eon. The 5 eons are separated by an unknown amount of time.
Okay.
So they are, I guess, subjective time periods. And the fourth eon is the eon of men. That's when humans basically came into existence and when they came to thrive throughout the fourth eon. And the fifth eon is the eon of adventure. So that's when player characters entered into my world. So I just started a new eon when people started playing the game, essentially. So there is a little bit of history about the fourth Eon, which you should know a lot of things about. um, Particularly the prophecies of the Hierophant. Or maybe you should just know about the existence of the Hierophant, and then if you take ancient history, we can add stuff like that to your access as we go through the game. Okay. And then the troop. Okay, edit. So the troop are a group of adventurers that did a lot of adventuring in Lucilia City and around, in and around Lucilia City, during the fourth Eon, and they're all very old now. Their main wizard is sort of like my version of Gandalf, right? His name's Adolf, and he is super old. I think he's in his like 80s now, or maybe his 90s. Let me check. He is not a character that I've ever had as like a part of the character's, party or whatever, but I have used. He's 91, so he is old as far as humans go. That's getting up to his last legs.
Yeah.
Like he might die soon of old age. So all of his contemporaries are still alive. One of whom is actually a half-elf thief. So he's old, but he's got a long way to go before he dies. And then there's a human female that's a priestess of Isis. And she's really old too. And then there are a few others that are warriors that have kind of either passed away, or, well, I guess not passed away, but they're like old lords that are, great grandfathers, and they're on their last legs. So yeah, your character would know about that, and then also the circus. Find circus, and this is the player character party. This one I have not updated in a really long time, so this is very old information, but it is how the circus began. It was 2 player characters, one named Thrashim and the other named Savannah. Thrashim was a dwarf. Savannah was a female human fighter that was she was like an archer, and they had a lot of dealings in western and central Panoplia, and they put an end to like 3 or 4 different wars, and they rescued the princess of Bryn, who was the last of the royal family there in the dungeon. She was the last survivor, and they did so much for the region that the circus is famous. So
Okay.
the 2 original members are now retired, and the circus is still going. So it's kind of like they were the original gangsters, and the new gangsters have it now.
Got it.
So that is the adventuring party that your character is like, giddy about joining. And then...
And I can access these outside of the game and study, correct?
Yes, actually, since you have access to them in the game, outside of the game, there's actually this, let's see, it is, it's under content, so if you're looking at the homepage for the campaign, I'll take a picture of this. Come on, green shot. There we go. Capture region. So if you're looking at the... Actually, I don't need to use green shot. I should use, what's it called? Okay. Select an area. So I'll just highlight what I'm talking about. Or I'll draw an arrow. Okay. And then we upload to printscreen.com. Open. Copy image. And I'll paste this in Discord. In a personal message to you. Okay, here we go. So paste that. It's a big picture, so it's going to take a minute to load.
Okay.
But I drew an arrow to where you would click. It's on content. So that's the home page for the campaign. If you click on content, and then you click on the external journal, it'll give you access to all of these handouts. So that's a really useful tool. Also, on your character sheet, underneath Homeland, I'm going to give you a link straight to oh, it's already there. Neat.
I listened.
Okay. Outstanding. And then, yeah, good. Family scribes. Okay. Silver, Amber. 2 siblings. Are you the firstborn, secondborn, or thirdborn? And then status is like marital status. Are you single, married, divorced,
okay.
widowed, engaged? Because that could all go into a really nifty backstory. Like you could be married to like a wealthy military leader who's in charge of divulging like documented military maneuvers and stuff to your historian parents or something, or they were scribes. Maybe you're married to one of the senior librarians who is in charge of scribing, and your parents are like under his tutelage, his or her tutelage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be married, engaged, divorced. Elves are really old when they start, so you could be all of the above if you want. Married, divorced, and widowed. I'm still making your token. I just need to put I think an invisible version, just in case you decide to stealth. So the way I do stealth is very literally stealth. Your character will be invisible to everyone else.
Good.
Let's see. Oh, right. Okay. I think that was all the interesting ones.
Okay.
So, invisible. There we go. Transparent. Save those changes. And save those changes. Okay, I'm just going to delete this old one right here. And then we'll roll this new Seif Elf female token. There we go. And I have to make it a drawing so it will snap to the grid.
That is cool.
And then I have to say flip it horizontal and then flip it vertical so that it actually faces the correct direction inside the square. Okay, and then I like to face them south. Whoops. There we go. And then we'll open it and give it to Asher. Enter. Show nameplate. We want your hit points on there. We want your base speed on there. Whoops. Base speed. And your AC. And then Grey Elves have infravision to 60 feet, I think.
Mm-hmm.
See, Drow, Grey Elf, infravision, 60 feet. Okay. So we'll give you 60 feet of infravision. Give you sight. And then I'm going to give you a circular aura of 0 feet. Whoops. That's purple, which is the color that I use for thieves, invisible thieves. Okay, and then save changes. So only you can see that aura, and only you can see your name. Okay, so I'm going to delete your old token, and I'm going to delete the torch. So you should still be able to see. I'm going to save this new token to your character sheet. So edit your sheet, use selected token, save changes. Okay, so go ahead and right click on your token, and then select it first, and then right click, and where it says multi-sided, you can, if you keep multi-sided highlighted and go over to choose side, it will bring up kind of like a slider bar, and you can actually choose your different poses there. The very last one is invisible, so whenever you go stealth, you should change to the invisible one. And then that purple aura will serve to show your location on the map, and only you can see it, and only you can see your name below below the aura. So cool. Stealth is really cool in this game. The other player characters can't see you. I can see you, but I mean, I should always be able to know where your character is at because I'm the DM.
Right.
So, but yeah, if you ever have a player versus player confrontation, you have kind of an advantage because you can hide yourself from the players. So that's pretty cool. And I don't encourage or discourage player versus player like violence. That just happens in some good stories sometimes. So, kind of like in Lord of the Rings. In Fellowship of the Ring, if Boromir didn't attack Frodo and try to take the ring, that
Yeah.
story would be so much different. It wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it it hasn't happened with this group yet, but it has happened with. I think I told you there were 3 or 4 different iterations of this campaign. The second group, the second iteration, there was a lot of player versus player fatalities, but that was mostly because the players chose to play an evil party.
Yeah.
So there was one player that was particularly good at, killing other players, and he incidentally he was playing a ninja, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, he's really good at it. Okay, so I'm going to. Is that the default pose that you like?
Go with that for a while.
Okay, so I'm just gonna remove the old one. Yes, delete. Use selected token. Save changes. Okay, so now if we go back into the character sheet tab, we'll scroll down to, let's see, your movement rate is 12. 12 speed, enter. Okay. At level 1, everyone gets maximum hit points. So thieves roll d6, so you get 6 health. Both minimum and maximum are going to be 6.
Okay.
So that would be up near your race, right where it says HP. The one on the left is current hit points, and then it'll say slash, and then on the right of the slash is maximum hit points. Elves have a natural armor class of 10. And your HP is 6 out of 6. You're completely healthy, no injuries. Whoops. 6. Enter. Okay. Height 62 inches. Wow, that was really tall. 5 foot. Oh yeah, right. Gray elves are the tallest of the elves, so they tend to be almost as tall as humans. So 5'2" for an elf is really tall. Yeah, that's a really tall height. So that's why I was surprised about that. So I'm just gonna put 5'2" and you weigh 93 pounds, age 127, max age 743. You're gonna be right-handed. Okay. You'll gain Thief level 2 at 1,250 points. You're probably gonna gain 1 level per session until you're level 5. Thieves go really fast. Anytime your character picks up wealth of any kind, whether it's gems or well, I guess it would have to be gems or coins. You will receive 2 experience points per GP value of your wealth that is attained.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty sickening because a lot of the times you're going to be getting thousands of gold coins at a time, or thousands of gold coins worth of platinum. So you'll get, just a lot of XP really, really fast. So I would expect to be level 5 by, your 5th session, and then it'll kind of slow down from there, because the experience point requirements, they tend to basically double every time you gain a level. So it starts off at 1250, then it goes to 2500, and then 5000, and then 10,000, and then 20,000, so on and so forth.
The system track encumbrance, are we still doing that?
Yes. So specific encumbrance for your character is kind of going to be a problem because you did choose a fairly low strength. 35 pounds of weight allowance is pretty low, so you'll probably
It's a
be
big
able to
trouble.
wear pretty much your weapons, and that's probably it.
Uh-oh.
Um, Leather armor is like 15 pounds, so I mean that might end up encumbering you. Um, but that's up to you if you want to wear leather armor and maybe risk being encumbered. That's fine. There are ways around that. Like a lot of people buy mules at level 1, and if you buy a mule and a pack saddle, um, a mule with a pack saddle can carry essentially anything up to the weight allowance of a mule, which is a
Okay.
lot of weight. They are powerhouses when it comes to carrying stuff. Um, and they're really cheap. I think they're like 9 or 10 GP or something, and then a pack saddle is like another 9 or 10 GP. So that might be something to look into. Another cool thing about the mule is they will go anywhere. They'll go underground. They'll go into dungeons. They'll go into
Oh,
mountains. They're basically an all-terrain animal. Um, and another cool thing is they tend to feed themselves. They'll graze on grass outside. Underground, they'll graze on lichens and moss and fungus and stuff like that. So you don't really need to worry about feeding them or, watering them at all. They'll just,
yeah, that sounds handy.
as long as you're not in the desert, they'll be fine. Or like in a volcanic area or something where there's no food or water, you should be fine. Um, let's see. Another one is if you feel so inclined to recruit henchmen, having strong henchmen that can carry a lot of stuff is pretty beneficial, especially to a thief that has 8 strength. It's nice to have some muscle around, some thugs to maybe handle your dirty work for you. So you can win those characters through your charisma score in role playing situations. So I turn it into a mini game where I use your charisma and your overall demeanor during the conversation as modifiers to a couple of dice rolls. And the dice rolls will spit out basically an attitude for the non-player character towards your character, whether they're friendly, neutral, threatening, violent, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
You have a pretty decent charisma score, so you don't have any negative modifiers. So you probably don't have to worry too much about NPCs just attacking you for no reason. Some other characters might have to well, I guess gray elves, they do come off kind of rude. Let's see, they have special disadvantages. With other elves, gray elves suffer a -1 on reaction adjustments. This adjustment reflects their irritating and condescending attitude, even toward other elves. With other gray elves, of course, there is no reaction adjustment whatsoever. And then because their haughtiness and arrogance, gray elves receive a -3 on all reaction adjustments when dealing with non-elves. Their
Okay.
disdain, whether intentional or not, communicates itself to others and leads to very poor relations. So that's just a reflection of how gray elves don't like non-elves very much. They're kind of arrogant and haughty, but you don't have to roleplay that. It's just how your character comes off,
Perceived, yeah.
yeah, is perceived, right? So you as the player, role playing your character could be, just hamming it up, bribing an NPC, giving them compliments about their appearance and their clothes and stuff, and complimenting on how well behaved their children are, and all this stuff. But you kind of come off as arrogant being gray elf, and the NPC might actually dislike you because of it, or even try to attack you if the dice roll is really bad.
Got it.
So maybe non-elves aren't your thing. Maybe sticking with elves and gray elves is a better idea, because your reaction adjustment is for elves is non-gray elves is only a -1. That's not as bad as that -3. So socially interacting with any non-elf is kind of risky with that -3. So I would choose your battles. Okay, so we're gonna have to remember that. And then, yeah, special advantages. Gray elves have unlimited access to their own libraries and sages. Any information the Gray Elf Council determines to be good for the elf race may be furnished to Gray Elf PCs for a cheaper price than they would find elsewhere. This is purely discretionary on the part of the DM and should be played accordingly. So, normally, to hire a sage, they have to work for 1d6 days. And in order for them to work for you, you have to pay them 1,000 GP per day in order to answer your questions or whatever. Since you're a Gray Elf and have unlimited access to your library and to the sages therein, I would probably give you a 90% discount. So to you, it only costs 100 GP per day. Which, I'm sorry, that's a 90% discount. What am I thinking?
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, that's really advantageous for you. So people in the party could come to you asking for information, and you could go consult the sages in Lacilia City for a fraction of the price of anywhere else, and find out just as good information as anywhere else too. Okay. And you can ask sages anything. Like, where is the closest vampire? Or where can I find a holy avenger? You know, stuff like that. And they'll answer it to their best ability. Okay, so now we can skip down past your weapons table, past notes, past your special abilities and attacks, and we'll go to your rogue skills. Okay, so at level 1, you get 60 discretionary skill points, but you can't spend them more than 30 on any one thief ability, and it does benefit you to specialize at first. I just want to add that as some advice, because reason being is every time your character knows that you are successful on one of these skill checks, you gain 200 points. So sometimes you are unaware of the result until something happens. For example, hiding in shadows. The only time your character is aware that you have successfully hidden in shadows is if you try to backstab somebody. If they don't turn around to face you while you're trying to backstab them, they probably aren't aware that you're there. So that means that you would, in that situation, gain the 200 points for successfully hiding in shadows. And that might be a couple rounds after you actually hid. So if you ask me, hey, am I aware of, my success or failure or whatever, then I'll let you know, and I'll try to remember to give you the 200 point bonuses for when your character knows that they've been successful. And then if sometimes I'll forget, but if you ask me, then I'll remember.
Second.
Oh, sure, yeah. I need to use the restroom real quick too. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, let's take 5.
Yep. Okay, I'm back. That's funny.
Back when you were.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Do you still have time, or did you want to adjourn until tomorrow evening, or
Sorry?
do you still have time for character creation, or would you like to adjourn until tomorrow evening?
Vacating the bedroom so they can get sleep, but I don't have work.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. Let's see if I can.
And
Let's.
no, I was in the room so that he can sleep, but I don't have work tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Um. All right. Do you want to pause until tomorrow evening then, or did you want to keep going?
Because I'm free, but you want to head up with tomorrow. But,
So tomorrow's good.
oh well. Because that's my Saturdays. It's last Saturday that I have scheduled.
Hmm.
So I have the concert I'm going to tomorrow evening, and that's the only Saturday I won't be foreseeable. Can you hear me?
Kind of. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Mm. Uh,
Are you reading what I'm writing in Discord? Did you see what I wrote in Discord?
uh,
All right, that brings our interview to a close. So this has been interviewing a potential Dungeons and Dragons player. I'm Gargamond. This is my stream. If you like who we are and like what we do, I've provided links on the Twitch channel. If you scroll down, you'll find links to my Twitter, my Discord server where you can talk to me. There's also links to my Patreon and PayPal if you want to leave a donation. The PayPal is, of course, for just small one-time donations. The Patreon is for subscriptions as little as $1. And all of the different subscription levels have perks that stack up the further you go up the scale, all the way up to $50. I think there is a $1 tier, $5 tier, $10 tier, $15 tier, and a $50 tier. At the $50 tier, there are so many perks, including I will make you a co-dungeon master of my game on my stream every Saturday from 10 a.m. Pacific time till 3 p.m. Pacific time. For as long as you want to learn how to DM Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition. Among other things, you'll have a copy of my campaign that has been sterilized, no NPCs or lore, but you have all the automation, all the monsters, everything that I've created, except for the maps and lore, and the characters. As well as special Discord role for Patreons only, and a couple other things. I'll even play in your Roll20 game or Fantasy Grounds or Map Tools or whatever you play, whatever it is. If it's an online D&D game, I will play it, and I will also stream it for you. And I will save the sessions on my YouTube so you can review them. So, pretty cool perks if you ask me. And also those links are on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube as well. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.